I think maybe even Dirty Jersey Rat. Dirty Jersey. Yay! I love that song.
On Wednesday when I came on and I talked, people were upset because I waited forever to get to anything. That was number one, because Kevin was sniping. I figured, all right, he'll probably be here for a minute. I'm sure if I throw up all the cuck pictures and the other stuff, maybe eventually he'll go away. It took him a while. It took him several hours, I think, before I just finally gave up and I was like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to do this. But that was why it took so long to get to things on Wednesday. He, of course, was sniping. There were a lot of people that were in the chat that were screaming for me to hurry up. And it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't have to say anything. And I knew that going into it. What you guys have to understand is on Monday and Tuesday, I was bombarded with messages. I was bombarded with advice, and everything was different. Literally everything was different. And so I sort of, sat with it and tried to figure out, okay, how do I approach this? So then you add in the complication of whatever, Kevin sniping, a bunch of trolls and whatever in the chat screaming at me. I'm in the middle of this like weird trifecta of MLC people that don't like me because they were told not to, Ricada haters because I've been kind and I've let Nick come on to tell part of his story. And, I guess the other overlap would be anyone that doesn't like Pat Dixon, right? Because I do a show with him. So I'm in this weird, like, crosshair sort of all these people that don't like me for reasons that a lot of them don't even know. They're just told not to, or they're just not supposed to, I guess, whatever. Blacklisted, if you will. So I had that going on in the chat too. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to take my time. How about that? We're here. Everybody wants to, push me into a place that was very dark for me and something that I worked really hard to get away from. And I'm just not, my bigger point is this. It wasn't my fans. It wasn't people that like this show. It wasn't people that support me no matter what. These were people I didn't know or people I did know and knew that didn't like me, So it's like, I don't owe them anything. And the bigger thing is, no matter how much I would have said or how little I would have said, it would never have been enough. Ever. And on the flip side of that, no matter what I would have said, it wouldn't have mattered to the people that like this show and like me. So, it's one of those things where it was sort of almost like a proverbial gun held to my head to start talking about it and pushing me after I've spent 2 days listening to people's advice, listening to, what everyone else thinks that I should do. So I handled things the best way that I felt I could in the moment. Now on Thursday, so I did the Wednesday show, and actually I opened up with like Karmic and just whatever, fun stuff, to just sort of ease into it and bore Kevin more than anything. And so I do the show Wednesday, get through all that. By Thursday, I had come out. I wrote a big statement saying, look, yes, it was heroin. That has been public for, I guess, almost a week now. It has been reposted all over the place. And I withheld that specific detail for less than 24 hours, which I understand why some people felt disappointed or misled. And I'm not pretending that that was the right choice. And I'm not making excuses for it, but there was a very good reason why I framed things the way that I did. And honestly, it's like, if I had it all over to do again, would I do it differently? I don't know. I think with that amount of pressure, I don't know if I would do anything differently, honestly. But the reason that I hesitated to tell every little detail, besides the fact that it's really nobody's business, is for the safety of myself and my family. And I also didn't realize how many people in this space don't fully understand the way a sting operation works and how many people are involved in something like that. Just by looking at my charges, you can see I didn't work for them when I was busted. I was asked to. I didn't. I had a very good reason for not doing that because I was just set up by someone, right? And I even heard somebody call me, who was it? Somebody said, yeah, dummy. Oh, I know who it was. We'll play it in a minute. But I say all that to say, I literally tried to put all of the blame on myself. Okay. And that sort of took the focus off of other people who have not gotten away from this lifestyle, from being brought up, messed with. Like at this point, I'd already been doxxed 2 or 3 times. They were posting all kinds of stuff, right? So I'm in a position now where I'm like, all right, here's a couple of people that are involved in something that happened almost 2 decades ago that I all of a sudden need to worry about again, right? This was a multi-person drug sting that involved a paid confidential informant, the person I obtained the drugs from, law enforcement surveillance that was marked money, and multiple controlled buys. I was arrested once for those. They were building a case. I did see someone else saying, oh, she was arrested 4 times every Wednesday for it. No, that's not how this works at all. But it was important to me that people understood that I wasn't selling anything at all to the public. I acted as a middleman. I obtained personal use quantities for someone who I knew very, very well, and that was the person that was working as the paid informant who was running things back to the police. It took multiple controlled transactions before the authorities had enough to charge me with. So this person was doing part of what, I went to go pick up, brought it back. They were doing part of it in front of me and then left with part of it. And that's what ended up in evidence. So it wasn't enough. So they came back again and again. I wasn't holding that. I never had it other than when I went to pick it up and hand it over. So that was the only time it was ever in my possession. But I wasn't selling. I wasn't selling to the public. I wasn't, I guess by law, technically there was a sale, right? There was an exchange of money, but it wasn't coming directly from me. And in a controlled buy situation like that, if someone gets in trouble and they agree to start working for the police, the police will get any and all, pathways to bust a bigger person, right? So, the person that's in trouble is trying to get part of their record cut down. They already know that they're going to prison for a long time. So that's what they do. I was one of those people. And because I would not in turn do the same thing, I took the hit. In my case, there were 6 to 7 officers on me at all times when I left the house, did my thing and came back. So yeah, someone says, no one cares how a criminal gets caught. LOL, still did it. That's why I pled guilty, dumbass. That's why I pled guilty. Yeah, I did what I did. But it was more important for me to protect my family than to discuss all the details of my case. Who cares? None of you care. Really, like across the board, no one cares. People that don't like me don't care about the details. The people that do like me don't care about the details. So that was on me. I probably should have just said, who cares, and move on. I guess in hindsight, I know that I miscalculated. I know that I messed up. And there's nothing I can do to take that back. In the same way that there's no way I can take back, 16 years ago. There's no way that I can go back to that moment and make better decisions. And in the same way, I can't do that for Wednesday. I assumed people would understand why I was putting distance between myself and certain details. And instead, the omission ended up becoming a bigger story than the underlying explanation. So that's on me. But the paperwork was available Wednesday, but Thursday, or it might have even been Wednesday night. I don't know. The entire last week was pretty much a blur. I didn't watch anything up until Monday. And even then, there was so much that I couldn't, right? But anyway, I just want to say the paperwork is available to anybody that wants to look. I was arrested 16 years ago. I faced the consequences then. I have removed myself from that life and have spent the years since moving in a completely different direction. I have also learned a lot about how people respond when something like this happens. When this becomes public, a lot of people were genuinely disappointed. Some felt embarrassed for defending me, I guess. Some wanted immediate answers, and others already had decided what they believed, regardless of any facts or evidence, so it didn't matter. A significant amount of outrage came from people or communities that already disliked me. You know, what are you going to do about that? I'm not changing any minds around here. Other court matters being circulated did not result in convictions, and in some cases never progressed at all. I actually went back through that Monday and looked very closely at dates and lined some things up, and it's like, that's why I was never served with it. It was thrown out before it even got to me. So there's a lot of things there that I felt were important to clear up with people, because I don't like people thinking that I am violent, that I break into people's houses, steal cars, like all this weird shit that came along with it that just wasn't true. And that was important for me because I've never been that person. But I'm especially grateful to the people who reached out to me in private. There was a lot of people, quite a bit of people who have been very supportive. There were also a few people who were supportive in private and not so much in public. So we'll get to some of that too. But at this point, the truth is available to anyone who wants it. You can ask me any questions you want. The paperwork is out there. I'm not going to go looking for it. I've already been tried once and now publicly tried again. So I'm not interested, and I will move on. You can call whatever names you want, do all that kind of fun stuff. I know people love that. And that's fair, I guess. That's fine. But I do want to say one more thing about one of the other criticisms that I've heard several times. And like I say, I haven't even watched that much of what happened last week. The argument that I should not be able to look over court documents because I have a history is bizarre to me. I'm not over here digging up 20 years ago on anybody. Like, of the court cases that we've gone over here, they've been not just current, but active. So you can just go ahead and throw that out. I'm going to do whatever I want here anyway. And one of those things that I'm definitely going to be doing is continuing to cover the HRO stuff with Aaron and Nick and Patrick and any other things that may come with that. I'm going to continue to be covering the Ricada stuff and anything else I want. So that really doesn't matter. I guess the only difference between then and now is that I can openly maybe apply some of my experience to it. And it may be part of the reason why I was sort of fascinated with the way that things moved as well. But it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. People forget, like, and I like Scarlett. I don't have no problem with Scarlett, but it's like she got busted a couple of weeks ago with 30 grams of cocaine, and no one blinked an eye. It was just kind of like, oh, she was on MLC that night. Like, no big deal. The next time, when she got out, and I guess people are more surprised with me because I've been sober so long. I guess, I don't know. Maybe they just come to like expect it from her, and they're like, "Well, there it is. Yeah, we knew." I don't know, but either way, I had no idea how important this seems to be to so many people. It's far more important to a lot of other people than it is to me, even, and it's my life. So weird. But anyway, I digress, I guess. So I want to clear, that's basically it. That's really all I have to say about it. You can ask me whatever you want. I'll do my best to answer that outside of, details that would put me in harm's way. And I think that that is acceptable and should be acceptable terms. I know here on the internet, there are no lines that won't be crossed. I'm fully fucking aware of that. And that's exactly why I fell on my own sword and tried to steer everyone's attention to me Wednesday and not the other people, because this is real life for me and I have to protect my family, and I don't, you can read between the lines with that. I really assumed a lot more of you were smart enough to understand why I took that route. So that's that on that.